Hey, we got to talk about the Bengals. They were just in the AFC title game. They were just in the Super Bowl the year before that. They're really riding high, and Zach Taylor has proven himself to be one of the best young coaches in the sport. Joe Burrow's proven himself to be one of the best young quarterbacks in the sport. And I mean, the list goes on, right? Chase and Higgins and, Logan Wilson, the, inside linebacker. They've all sorts of talent. But they also have a really talented running back who's had some off the field concerns. And this goes back to even, during the draft process. And I'm talking about Joe Mixon, who we have actually talked about before. The question is, when you have a running back like Bijan Robinson, who, I don't look at him as generational. And what I mean by that, before anybody jumps on me, I don't look at him as the best running back in the last 10 years. He's not on that level. But I do look at him like he's like Ezekiel Elliott coming out of Ohio State. And that's a day one starter and potentially a top 5 running back sooner than later. So my question for you, Cam, do you vibe with the Bengals getting Bijan Robinson in the first round if he's there and moving on from Joe Mixon amid his offseason troubles?
I vibe. It's unfortunate that some of the players have to go through what they go through, right? Like we don't ever wish on a player's downfall. As a player myself, like I would never be like, oh, hope this guy doesn't do well. But for Mixon, it seems like he's following a pattern here, Jake. There's a pattern when it comes to conduct and just character. I think it's a character play with Mr. Mixon. And so in 2014, I know he got in trouble for knocking a young lady out in a restaurant. That's bad character, Jake. I think just from day one, what do your parents say? Don't put your hands on other people, right? And of course they say a man should have put their hands on a lady. That's number one as a guy, but don't put your hands on other people. And he's done that, and he's had to, he's worked through that. He's done his time and community service and stuff like that. And then going to January of this year, he gets in trouble again with the gun issue. I think he had a gun in a lady's face and says, "Hey, you should be popped in the face. I should shoot you. The police can't get me." Like seeing that on the NFL website, like the NFL posted that. I just got that quote from the NFL. So for him to say that means he feels like he's above the law. And that's not going to fly here, Jake, right? At some point, as men, as people, we have to be able to stand for what's right. And it seems like what this guy is doing, his behavior towards women, it's not working out. It's not going so well. And so I think we have to stand on the table and be able to say, hey, that's not right. And we can't support that. So those are my thoughts on the character piece, Jake. And then going to number 2 with the Bijan part, seeing Bijan play, I cut on the tape and watched him run that football. And it reminded me a little bit of, I know you mentioned Ezekiel Elliott, but his elusiveness, his explosiveness, the way he changed direction. I was like, is that Reggie? I'm watching like Reggie Bush's tape and seeing him, just mix people up and change direction, reverse field and get open and be able to take up space. I'm like, man, this guy's elusive. And so seeing guys like Bijan coming from Texas playing, big boy football and stepping into the NFL, I think he can get it done, like you said, without a doubt, and start. So I would love to see that. I'm gonna say vibe. I will put a pin in this. I want to see Bijan going to the Bengals, supporting Joe Burrow, and going to the Super Bowl if they don't beat if they beat Patrick Mahomes. So
yeah, are we just we're penciling that in? That's the AFC title game. Hey, and yeah. I don't hate it. I definitely think the Jets, Bills, even the Dolphins could be in that conversation. But yeah, look, I'm with you, Cam. I'm vibing with Bijan Robinson, and hopefully my league mates in my dynasty league don't see this, because I'm going to try to trade Joe Mixon the second I get off this show. I've talked myself completely out of the Mixon train. Look, I hope he figures it out. I really do, and I thought he did. But when you he got charged with aggravated menacing. I didn't even know what that was. It just sounds awful. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be charged with that. So,
no.
Look, and to add some context behind it, obviously innocent until proven guilty, that stands. But when you have the police kind of brush this off, and I don't want to say brush it off, but it first happens and then they kind of dismiss it like he's not, a suspect. And then it comes back and they, more evidence goes into it. So something happened. We don't know what happened, but something happened. That is alarming to me. You also play a position where, let's be honest, at age 30, you're going to hit a wall. I mean, that's just statistically, that's been proven in this league. There are outliers that can go beyond 30. But we're even starting to see the guy I just mentioned, Ezekiel Elliott. He's starting to have a hard time. He's not running with the same explosiveness. So Bijan Robinson, I'm not really a big fan of drafting a running back number 1 overall or in the first round, because especially in this draft, because you have so many, really talented guys. But I vibe with the idea of the Bengals doing it because I don't think they have many needs. And if you feel like that's a guy where, Mixon's good, but like he's giving you like 40 yards rushing on 10 carries or whatever, but then you feel like you could add a guy like Bijan who has that experience in the receiving game as well. Keep in mind they lost Samaje Perine in the offseason. He went to the Broncos. He was a big piece last year. Yeah. So I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say I vibe with that as well. I think they should take Bijan if he's there. Now, he might not be there, but I think it's gonna be either them, Dallas, or Buffalo. That's my prediction in the first round. I think he goes in the first round. I think it's going to be the Bengals, Cowboys, or the Bills. Bills are obsessed with running backs. I don't know why they have so many that are already like talented, but I could see them drafting Bijan.